and it's delivering. International football was good for the countries that still had important work to do. Some countries needed to finish their business to secure World Cup status and all of that qualification stuff for the following year's World Cup next summer. But my goodness, club football has very little to compare to it. Club football is where it's at. Um, and as an Arsenal fan, I'm recording, an hour or so after the final whistle at the North London derby. So that's where I'm starting this one. And yes, there are games, a lot more games yesterday than today, but I'm going to go backwards. This is a Premier League review for this weekend, and it's going to be a kind of Arsenal heavy, to be honest. It's going to be. It has to be. It has to be. Um, I've been worried about Arsenal's cluster of injuries. I'm going to start there. So I'm not going to act like I thought this was in the bag going into this game, because I was really worried about the impact of having Marino play continuously in the number 9 position. But with Eze behind him, it's kind of a different thing. It's almost like they are switching or rotating and on who is the striker and who is the 10. And several times today, when Arsenal actually scored a goal, Moreno is behind Eze, and Eze is in the box. And Moreno, for example, when he passes the ball to Trossard, Eze is not too far away from from Trossard, and Moreno is playing the ball from deep. And the same thing happens for one, if not more, of the next few goals that Arsenal scored for. So my worry there for this game was definitely, maybe misplaced. I do still worry because like we need forwards, as I saw at Sunderland and as I saw Arteta has this reluctance to use certain players. So I know he trusts the guys that aren't back at the moment. So I'm hoping that that can happen. But my God, okay, enough of the injury worries, because I think Arsenal, uh, they were by far the better team and they were worthy winners today. I think it's very important considering that they have buy-in. I mean, every game in the Premier League is important. Don't get me wrong, but the fact that the schedule is kind of tightening up a little bit in terms of the quality of opponent until mid-December. The next few games, I think Arsenal will draw points somewhere within the next few games, because you have Tottenham, you have Bayern, and you have Chelsea away. And Chelsea are sitting, in second, and no one is talking about them. They're young. They got some injuries. They got Palmer coming back. So like it was important that Arsenal started with a win today, and then you deal with the next games as they come. And it would have been nice to see Martinelli get on, but today was about the guys on the field, because they gave their all, and they rightfully maybe stayed on the pitch. I was worried live that maybe at 3-0 up, you can make subs from the 60th minute. We didn't do that, but that's a conversation for another day. But I just wanted to flag it because I do worry that Arteta sometimes needs to, especially when you have a 3-goal lead at home, you need to kind of lean towards your squad a little bit more, because we know he's going to start the same 11 or close to it in the next 2 to 3 games. As a meant business from the very beginning. I think it's like 2 minutes in, he scoops a little pass, cheeky little thing for Declan Rice, who volleys it straight to Vicario. Vicario makes a save, and Kevin Damso almost scores an on goal. This is like 2 and a bit minutes into the game, and today I made a video recently about Eze not being a metronome and not being the kind of player who, um, who's gonna be very ball dominant. But he's a moments player. He's a low touch, high impact player. That's what I called him in the video, and I think that's what I titled the video. And today I haven't gone back to see how many touches he had off the ball, but let me double check real quick. But yeah, he's one of these players for me, man, that I just like. He can be missing, and he's very similar to Trossard. Like he had a game today where he scored 3 goals. Let me see how many touches of the ball he had. Um, 45 touches, which is not too much more than he did against Sunderland. He's in that region, in the mid 40s, low 40s, consistently. And he had a good game. 3 goals. Actually, beyond good game is too humble. He had an excellent game. And this is the kind of game I think many people, including himself, have been waiting for him to have. We know it's not going to happen every week that he will do, this kind of thing. But this is a kind of game I think that we all knew he had in him. He has this kind of game, especially in the big moments or when things are feeling a little twitchy. He has the ability to decide games like most players can't, and so I'm very happy for him. He was happy to make the pass when the pass was on, but he's very trigger happy, and it's working out when you have a number 9 like Merino who drops out a little bit. So between him, Trossard, and Saka, as a Trossard and Saka actually become the front line, and Merino kind of drops in to become the 10. Beautiful, beautiful rotations within that front line. Trossard is another guy who is quietly having a massive season. So I want to just spend time briefly talking about him. He has a goal and he has an assist in this game, and again, plays another 80-minute game, 78 minutes. He came off for Madueke, who was good to welcome back. But Trossard just always working, always making a nuisance of himself. And he does the defensive work. He might be a tiny guy, but it's hard to. He's a competitor. He's no pushover. And Saka had a good game. A few times he held on to the ball a little bit too long when the pass was on earlier, but Saka is Saka. He cruises to a 7 out of 10 almost every game. Um, Zubimendi and Rice had a good game in midfield. I don't think Tottenham, starting with the back four, I think looking back, they will regret that. But there's deference. When you're as good as Arsenal are, there's a degree of deference that comes with that. But the beautiful thing about this year's Arsenal team is that the low block / mid block thing is not successful as much as it has been the previous 2 to 3 seasons against Arsenal. We're finding answers more often than not. And Big Gabby, we are gonna miss him. I'm not gonna pretend that he's not gonna be a miss, but it doesn't hurt when you have Piero Incapié who can come on there and deliver performance that's no drama. It's almost like Gabby was still playing, you know, for today. And Incapié will hopefully, build more momentum and fitness in the upcoming games. But if he can't play, we have Mosquera who can play. And if one of those 3 guys can't play, as long as Miles is fit, you can also push Calafiore to center back. So we have cover at the back, and I'm not worried about that. I think Arsenal should be fine with, as long as it's not a concentration of injuries, like in any one department. Arsenal should have enough weapons to navigate this tricky, with middle 9 games in 30 days. It's a lot for any club, but I do think the squad is going to have to be used, especially for the Carabao Cup game and one, if not both, of the Champions League games. You have now Bayern coming up, and Bayern is going to be a tough ask. And I know Arteta is less likely to rotate too heavily for that game. I think the guys who started today are most likely going to be starting all the way until the Chelsea game, which is why I didn't like that we played a lot of them, 70, 80 plus minutes, because they're going to have to go again against Bayern. Then they have to go to Stamford Bridge and go again against that Chelsea team. And then, you can have maybe some of the other guys, some of the squad players take minutes in the Club Brugge game, or and then Brugge, the team from Belgium. You can have a team rotation again for the Carabao Cup, but that's like mid towards late December. But the next week, the same guys who started are going to be starting again, over the next two games, I would imagine, because I don't think Madueke will be good enough to start in terms of physical readiness in the next two games. And I also think Martinelli didn't even see the field today, so he probably is not starting. But very dominant performance in the North London derby. You can't have too many complaints. You can't have too many complaints, especially after the sour taste of the Sunderland draw. I understood the draw. I'm not gonna sit up here and revise, looking back. I think straight after the game, I was more of the feeling that we played the best opponent who had faced us. Not on paper, but the way the game went. I think Sunderland had a game plan that was more confrontational than most teams have chosen to have against Arsenal, and the confrontation that they brought to the game worked for them on the day. If we play that game a few more times, I think Arsenal win, especially if we have more than Christian Mosquera to sub, right? Like I think Arteta might have some regrets about maybe his usage of his bench that day, but I also understand, like, you had to trust your defense, which had been impenetrable for most of the season. Tottenham had little in this game, and the goal we gave them, beautiful goal by Richarlison, but we gave it to them. It was a gift, and the fact that they didn't do much else after that. They had a little bit of a spell, like after they scored, because their tails were up and kicking some Arsenal players around. But this team is, once you give this Arsenal team a lead, it's very hard to really get back into the game, or much less win the game. So Zubimendi had a brain fart moment, which is uncharacteristic, but like outside of that, there was no drama in this game. One of the most comfortable North London derbies I've watched in most recent times, because of how good this team is, even with a decimated front line at the moment. Of course, we have Saka, we have Trossard, but like they're running out every 3 days, and I'm really really hopeful that help is coming soon, because like it's going to be needed. It's going to be needed. Elsewhere in the Premier League, I think Manchester City and Liverpool dropping points yesterday really helped Arsenal out today, because like a draw could have been, okay. But like, let's talk about those games a little bit. Liverpool are really having a season no one would have predicted. Losing 3-0 at home and deserving to lose the game by at least two goals. There was a handball goal that was ruled out, and I don't see a handball there, but there we were. Jesus's goal was ruled out. Nottingham Forest didn't fluke that win. It was not a fluky win. It was a very deserved win, and they literally outran Liverpool at Anfield, which never happens. Like they out muscled Liverpool at Anfield, which never happens. And so for anyone to make that story about Liverpool would be an injustice to Sean Dyche and his Nottingham Forest team, because they footballistically did everything they needed to do. It was not a Sean Dyche kind of like long ball, let's keep the ball in the air and like stink up the joint at Anfield. They actually played really decent football. Of course, Liverpool had most of the ball, but I don't know what's going on there, and it was very helpful, obviously, to Arsenal's cause as an Arsenal fan. But like, I don't think anybody would have predicted this kind of dip, especially, when Liverpool was winning the first 5 games in a row of the season, continuing to do what many people had predicted, in the summer. A lot of people predicted that Liverpool, because of the summer transfer window they had, would run away with the league. I didn't think anyone would run away with the league. I still don't think anyone will run away with this league. As an Arsenal fan who's been watching the Premier League for a long time, I'm not naive enough to think anyone will run away with this league. In fact, I think no one is going to make 90 points this season. I think Arsenal have a good chance of winning this league, especially if they get some help. with the forwards coming back. Hopefully they come back and stay fit. You can't ever have a fully fit squad, and I understand that. But the problem is when you have injuries in the same part of the field. That's a problem. No team can sustain a challenge with that kind of problem. However, I think Liverpool have left themselves like a bit thin squad wise, and I think they will have a spell where they will win, games on a spin. Like they will win, like they did at the beginning of the season, 5 in a row. When things start clicking for them, and they don't have too many injuries, they will win 7, maybe even 10 games in a row at some point, and they'll be back in the conversation. I'm not counting them out. You can never count out a champion, unless they are Leicester, who did a freakish thing one year, like that one. We all knew that they were not going to sustain what they did. But Liverpool deservedly lost yesterday, like they did. Manchester City, they were in the game. It was a tight game, and anyone can lose to Newcastle away. Anyone can. Newcastle have been not good in the Premier League and good in Europe this year, but like that win yesterday, Newcastle would have, they should be right in feeling like they deserve to win against Man City yesterday, because like Man City, yes, they have a really good goalkeeper and they're a really good striker, but in between those two players, there's a lot of new guys there who haven't done it at the top level. You know, of course, they have Ruben Diaz and Guardiola and other players in the team that can um, help their cause as they try to make a push. And I'm not going to disrespect City either, but I do think. Hold on, somebody just wrote me a chat. Um, do you think you can win the league? I'm an Arsenal fan. Yes, I'm not gonna bet against Arsenal. You know what I mean? Like, I think we can, I think we have the best chance to win the league this year than we've had the previous years because of the backup strength we have. I think we have strength in depth now. We haven't even seen it yet in terms of like when Odegaard is available and Eze and everybody else is available. Like, of course, you're not going to have a fully fit squad in a season. But yes, I think we have the best chance to win the league this year than we've had in any other time. But I just don't know if there's a team that I don't think actually I really don't believe that there's a team that will run away with the league. Back to Man City, for example, like before they lost yesterday, everybody was like, yeah, they've done it before. Pep is coming and he's talking the big talk. He's doing what he needs to do, obviously, to unsettle Arsenal and any other rival, talking about the season starts now. You know, they'll be good, City. They'll beat a lot of teams, but I do think we have a better prepared team for this year. Um, I think the only thing Arsenal have to worry about is injury record. If we can keep a decent injury record this year, we'll win this league, and that's my belief. It's not like some arrogant thing of like, are we gonna make 90 some points? I don't know. In fact, I don't believe there's a team that's gonna make 90 plus points this season because of how good the rest of the teams are. Like Chelsea lost at home to Sunderland. We went to Sunderland, newly promoted team, been flying, no goals conceded for 8, 9, 10 games or whatever it was. We conceded 2, withdrew the game. Yes, the players were kind of shafted by that time because they've been playing every 3 days. But it's very difficult. In this Premier League is as congested in talent as I've seen in a very long time. Actually, I can't remember a more congested Premier League in terms of coaching talent and then talent on the field. Every team now has a player that can, or two, that can help any team in the table. You can go to a team like Wolves or Nottingham Forest, who just until yesterday, when they beat Liverpool, they were in the relegation zone. But you can go to Nottingham Forest as a team that's challenging for the league and buy one or two, maybe more players who can help you win the league. That never used to be the case. Like maybe one, But now Gibbs White can help anybody in the top 4. Um, Murillo is a good enough to be a good rotational squad player in the top four team. Um, Elliot Anderson, he can start for most teams in that top four. So like, I think you have a very congested talent in the Premier League. So in my view, I think Arsenal are definitely more prepared than most teams to play the style of football that's required to win games in the Premier League now, because we have big guys, we have the tech, we have the aerial dual winning ability, we have yeah, we can do whatever dance you want to. If you want to make it into a street fight, we can roll up our sleeves and we can get nasty. City, I don't think they have that, not in abundance. They have a couple of bouncers, but like Phil Foden is not that guy. Cherky, as talented and gifted as he is, not that guy. Bernardo, not that guy. Um, Reinders, until they have Rodri, their midfield is a little bit lightweight. They have some big guys in defense, yeah, but in the middle, you can kind of push them around a little bit. And going away to Newcastle and with the midfield of um, what's his name, the big kid who used to be a forward. His name is escaping me. Um, wow, number 7 for Newcastle, big guy. For his name is going to come back to me. But you have Bruno, you have Joel Linton. That's the guy. You have Bruno, Joel Linton, and the Italian kid, Tonali. Engines. They have engines for days, all three of them, and they can play. And up front, Harvey Barnes was making a nuisance of himself. He missed a sitter that I thought he would regret me missing. He should have had a hat trick yesterday, Harvey Barnes. But because of the difficulty of the second goal he scores, I think he makes up for it, especially because they win the game. It was a really good game. Newcastle, I don't know if this means their season gets kickstarted, because I don't think their injury record is also as good as maybe it needs to be for them to be able to push both on the European front and the Premier League front. So that's going to be hard for them. They're going to need to keep players fit, Newcastle. But the Newcastle is always a challenge for other teams in the top four-ish. It's only when they have to break teams down that they run into trouble. When the team gives them the ball, they're not a team that plays well when they dominate in the game. They need a game to be a bit more basketball. They need a game to be a bit more frantic, you know. And at home they can beat anyone. I know we went there and won, but they can beat anyone at home. So City losing to Newcastle was a big help, because I wasn't expecting that, the way they had been playing, and I think they had lost one game in like their last 13, 14 games, whatever it was. I don't even remember how many games it was since they lost, but it had been a long time. In all competitions, that is, right? I think I can't remember the last game they won. They lost, might have been Tottenham, maybe. So in this Premier League, anybody can beat anyone. Anybody can beat anyone. But Arsenal today have created a cushion of 6 points, which helps, especially when you don't have some of your forward players to score 4 goals against Tottenham. A really good Tottenham team, I would say. Like, I think today, I don't know what was going on with them. Maybe it was the moment being too big, or I can't really say. I didn't expect a 4-1. I was expecting you know, maybe a 2-1, 3-2. I thought we were more likely going to win the game, but I thought that would give us more challenges, like going the other way, because it's a derby and they had been doing really well away from home. So I thought they would do something similar here. Didn't see this one coming. And elsewhere in the Premier League, like, I know I talked a lot about the top 3 teams because that was the most surprising bit of what happened here. Like, Liverpool losing at home to Nottingham Forest was definitely more surprising than City losing to Newcastle away. But I was surprised by both of those results, if I'm being honest with you. And Arsenal winning 4-1, I know we're good and we're better than Tottenham, but that surprised me too. And then elsewhere, Burnley lost to Chelsea. I was expecting that one. And there's not much to talk about there. Chelsea did what they needed to do. We move on. Cole Palmer is not needed still, and he's probably coming back soon. Apparently, he hurt his toe, but he's close to coming back. Maybe, just maybe, he might be back for the Arsenal game. And then West Ham, they gave away a two goal lead away to Bournemouth. Callum Wilson homecoming was a good homecoming for him. Game half times 2-0 away to the away team, and then I guess West Ham need to be behind to play their best stuff, because like with the last two games that they did win, they came from behind to win. This time they took the lead and then gave up a penalty and an equalizer, 69th minute and 81st minute, respectively. And Brighton comeback win. Danny Welbeck. This was the Danny Welbeck game. Comeback win. Brentford had a chance to equalize and make it 2-2 at the end with the soft penalty that was given. So I guess maybe a bit of poetic justice there. Fulham gave Sunderland a reality check, 1-0 win. Raul Jimenez. Close game, scruffy little game. Palace made easy work of Wolves in Rob Edwards' first game in charge of Wolves. Palace took the 2-0 win, and everything was kind of like expected in a lot of these games. And Leeds, after leading today, gave up a lead as well to lose 2-1 to Aston Villa. So, outside of the top three games, like those, I mean, I know Liverpool is not top three, but to me, they'll be top three come the end of the season. And maybe I'm wrong in believing that. So, City, Liverpool, Arsenal, to me, that's my top three for this season. And not in that order, but, because I predicted Arsenal to win the league. But Liverpool and City and Arsenal, those were the three big surprises in the Premier League this week, in my opinion, including not that the fact that Arsenal won, but how dominant that win was. I'm really surprised, pleasantly so, no complaints. But every other game in the Premier League was as expected, if I'm being honest. But yeah, we move, man. Now it's 3 games a week or 3 games every 7 days, whatever way you want to say it. I really do think it becomes now more so than in the earlier part of the games, where the international breaks could save you to kind of regain players back from injury and whatever. It becomes now a slog right through the winter months. It's going to be a real hard slog. No internationals until March. Unless you're an African player, of course, there's going to be AFCON late December till like late January. So outside of AFCON, there's going to be no international breaks. It's just club football, 3 days every 3 days a game, every 3 days a game. And I really do hope Arsenal get these players back, because it's going to be hard to ask the same players to run out every 3 days. It's going to be really hard. And so, Gyökeres, please come back very fast. Madueke, you came back for a few minutes. Stay healthy. Martinelli is back on the bench. Hopefully, by Chelsea, he can give us some minutes. Odegaard, hopefully he's not too far. He can come in and give us minutes, because we need to start having some rotations up front. Like Martinelli being gone and all these other guys being gone has meant that Trossard has had to play every 3 days, and he's 30 now, and luckily it's worked out for Arsenal. Saka, he just had a 4-month hamstring injury last year on one hamstring, came back this season, did the other one. He's also been running every 3 days. So I think, and then Gyökeres was running along with them and EZE. And maybe them two, EZE and Gyökeres, were, better conditioned to do that for now, because like they were coming from situations where they were not playing intense football every 3 days like Arsenal did the last 2 to 3 seasons. So I think the balance in the squad is there when people start coming back from injury. And I'm not gonna get ahead of myself and say this is Arsenal's league to lose, but I think this is the best chance Arsenal have had to win the league. I know people have thought, previous years where, and Arsenal had been in the lead for the Premier League challenge and then lost it in the spring. However, in those seasons, like, we had too many single points of failure, an injury. We were one injury away from collapsing. And as we've proved so far this season, multiple injuries are not distracting us to the degree that one or two did in the previous few seasons. So kudos to Mikel Arteta, the players, the recruitment team, the board, and everybody at Arsenal for preparing for this season the way they have, because they're bearing the fruits of that preparation now. Like, you don't win competitions in only during the season. The off season is really important, and they really went big and backed this team, and they deserve to be backed. And people like Ben White will hopefully play a bigger role as the season progresses, and people like Miles Lewis Skelly will hopefully play a bigger role. We have these players that we can trust if need be. So I'm hopeful that, like, that having this big squad means we can really trust these players now, and really drive the advantage that we've built in this early stage of the season. Anyway, I'm going to stop this one here because I don't like to go too far beyond 30 minutes. Come on, you Gunners. Let's get it. Cheers, guys.